Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And it's a pleasure to rise and speak in support of the Energy Legislation Amendment Bill 2023. Deputy Speaker, our electricity system is undergoing a fundamental technological transformation as ageing and increasingly unreliable coal-fired generators exit the market. As those dated fossil fuel-dependent generators are increasingly being replaced by cheaper renewable energy, we must ensure that as a state government we enable a smooth transition from the old technology to the new. We must also support the introduction of measures as part of this transition that ensure that the lights stay on through this whole process. And these measures are those that support new renewable capacity to come online in time for the closure of those coal-fired power generators. In Victoria, these measures include strong renewable energy targets and programs such as the Victorian Renewable Energy Targets Auctions, our $1.3 billion Solar Homes program and the $540 million Renewable Energy Zone Fund. These, along with other landmark renewable energy investments across wind and solar generation, will play leading roles in helping us as a state to combat climate change and decarbonise our economy as we strive to reach net zero emissions, which include 45% to 50% carbon reduction targets by 2005 levels by 2030, 75% to 80% carbon reduction targets by 2035. These ambitious targets build on the Andrews Labor government's record to date, having already cut the state's carbon emissions by 32.3% below 2005 levels, with Victoria decarbonising at the fastest rate in the country, cutting its emissions by more than any other state since 2014. This is in very stark contrast to what the member for Gippsland South mentioned earlier, and it's in very stark contrast indeed to the former federal Liberal government, who had a Prime Minister bring in a lump of coal into federal parliament, and a state Liberal party who at the last election took an energy policy built on expanding the role of fossil fuel, coal and gas-fired power generation, a policy that was overwhelmingly rejected by the Victorian people. Done. They rejected it. Irrelevant. However, building on Labor's record, this government continues to take real action that people voted for to deliver new renewable energy and zero emissions technology across the state, including by bringing back the State Electricity Commission, the SEC, the member for Narragain, there he is, which would be the key driver in reducing emissions and bringing down power bills through a $1 billion initial investment into renewable and government-owned energy. The Victorian Labor government has also committed to ensuring that all Victorian government operations will be powered with 100% renewable electricity by 2025. And we're also working towards reaching Victoria's new renewable energy targets, which include powering the state's energy grid with 65% renewables by 2030 and 95% renewable energy by 2035. These are ambitious yet realistic targets that are built on this government's real and credible record when it comes to delivering clean energy across this state. You'll never hear this from those opposite, because our 25% renewable energy target by 2020 has now well and truly been achieved. We're on track to achieve it. We're on track, 25% renewables already. This again is in very stark contrast to the federal Liberal opposition who under Peter Dutton now have committed to going down the path of nuclear power, and at a state Liberal opposition who have at the last election also committed to expanding onshore gas exploration and development. Fracking, unbelievable. However, along with Labor's landmark policy measures that are moving us towards this renewable energy and sustainable future, it is also the smaller policy measures that play just as an important role, Deputy Speaker, and ensure that the right rules are in place to improve our energy reliability as we strive to decarbonise our economy and our energy sector. In this context, that is why this bill, which has three components, is so important. Firstly, this bill adds decision-making criteria to the Victorian legislation in the event that the Minister for Energy triggers the retailer reliability obligation. Secondly, the bill enables alignment between penalties applied to Victorian gas market participants with those in other jurisdictions.
Chat outside.
And thirdly, the bill changes outdated references to the Gas Distribution System Code, which is now known as the Gas Distribution Code System Code of Practice. These amendments are largely technical in nature but provide confidence to Victorians that energy markets are working in their favour, particularly as the energy market continues to transition towards 95% renewables by 2035. Deputy Speaker, there's so much more I can say on this bill. One last thing I just want to wrap on actually is around the fact that all of our investments are playing a leading role in encouraging more people, more young people and students to want to take up studies in science, technology, engineering and mathematics. 59,000 jobs are going to be created through the SEC. And I was so proud that earlier this week on Monday I was here to welcome the girls from Pascoe Girls Secondary College, to welcome them as part of Science Week celebrations in State Parliament. These are young women and girls studying the STEM subjects who came here in the context of Science Week being about space exploration, of all things, and their project was on exploring Mars and debating a bill in this House which was about the industries the government should take to Mars, should we establish a colony there. But my message to them was, the more that we explore space, the more that we understand the nature of our solar system, the reality is the more precious, I believe, we realise how precious life on Earth is. We are the only intelligent life form in the world, in the universe as far as we know, and that's why combating climate change is so important, and that's why delivering clean and renewable energy is so important, because we've got to protect our environment, we've got to protect our planet, and we've got to create the jobs of the future for the students coming through STEM subjects. In that regard, I commend the bill and look forward to further debate.